Hi everyone, we are now starting chapter 4. I want Mommy, Abby repeated louder this time. Jonathan could tell she was on the verge of losing all control. He said, Mom and Dad will come back as soon as they can. But when will that be, he wondered. What condition is the road in between the bridge and Beaverville? Even if the earthquake had been confined to Magpie Island, it meant that Dad could not drive back to the campground. He would have to leave the car and hike from the bridge to the camper. Mom, of course, would not likely return at all. She would either be in the hospital or at home, a fact which Jonathan decided not to share with his sister. There was no way to know how much of the road was blocked by fallen trees. It might be hours before his father returned, or it might be days. Jonathan had never felt so alone. He wished he had not offered to stay behind. He didn't want to be in charge of Abby, not in an earthquake. Abby wailed louder. It won't do any good to cry, Jonathan said. You'll just give yourself a headache. He knew he sounded cross, but he needed to think, and Abby's yowling did not help. Her wails subsided, becoming long, jerky, open-mouthed breaths. She lifted the hem of her t-shirt and blew her nose on it. If I were alone, Jonathan thought, I would hike the road to the bridge and make sure Mom and Dad made it off the island. But he was not alone. Dad had said, Jonathan is perfectly capable. Jonathan took a deep breath, consciously trying to calm himself. Mom and Dad were counting on him. They believed he could take care of his sister. He wondered what they would do in this situation. I need to do 2 things, he decided. First, keep us safe. Second, don't let Abby panic. He had already kept them safe once by lying under the fallen tree while the other trees crashed down around them. He might even have saved their lives. He had thought fast in an emergency and had done the smart thing. Compared to that, it should be a breeze to keep a 6-year-old from crying. When we get to the camper, Jonathan said, I'll play Go Fish with you. Abby closed her mouth, blinking at him through her tears. 4 games of Go Fish, Jonathan said. I can't go back to the camper without my walker. She wiped her tears on the back of her hand. I'll help you walk. You can hold on to my arm and we'll go slowly. Abby thought a moment. 10 games of Go Fish, she said. 6. Okay, 6. He took both her hands and pulled her to her feet. The trail is gone, Abby said. Which way are we supposed to go? Jonathan looked around. She was right. He wasn't sure where the trail used to be. It would be difficult enough to get Abby back to the camper without her walker. It would be disastrous to go in the wrong direction. Sweat trickled down the back of his neck. The sun. That's how he could tell. The sun was on his back earlier when he ran ahead of Abby and his parents, on his way to the lake. The sun was directly overhead while they played Sink the Ships. By now it would have moved farther west, so it would be on his back again. As he returned to the camper, he glanced down at Abby's frightened face. I know which way to go, he said calmly. East, away from the sun. He offered Abby his arm, and she clung to it. He stepped forward, with the sun filtering through the trees on his back. Abby stepped with him, her eyes sweeping the trees ahead. They had gone only a few yards when a huge fallen tree blocked their way. The side of the trunk was up to Abby's waist. We'll have to climb over it, Jonathan said. It will take too long to go around. Seeing the look of disbelief on Abby's face, he added, I'll help you. Put your back next to the tree. Rest your legs against it. Abby did. Jonathan quickly climbed over the tree, turned and leaned across it. Putting his arms under Abby's arms, he clasped his hands across Abby's chest. The great Abby elevator will now pull you up and over, he said. Just go limp like a Raggedy Ann doll. He felt her tense muscles relax. He pulled up and back until she was sitting on top of the fallen tree. She turned sideways and Jonathan lifted her legs one at a time so that they lay on top of the trunk. Abby turned some more and slid on her bottom across the tree trunk until her legs dangled down the other side. It was easy then for Jonathan to steady her while she slid down again. When she was safely on the ground, Jonathan guided Abby to a standing tree. Lean against the tree, he said, while I clear a path for us. Abby put her stomach against the tree and leaned forward. Hi, tree, she said, wrapping her arms around it. Would you like a hug?" While Abby talked to the tree, Jonathan cleared 6 feet of path. Then he helped Abby walk forward to another tree. Again, Abby leaned against the tree while Jonathan pulled fallen branches off the trail, making a path wide enough for them to walk side by side. Slowly, they made their way through the woods. Since Jonathan had to clear most of the trail of fallen branches, they stopped frequently. Clear another 6 feet. Help Abby walk. Clear and help Abby. Clear and help Abby. Moose jumped easily over most of the fallen trees and went around the others. "When we get to the camper," Jonathan said, "we'll stay there. There's plenty of food and water. Even if it takes Mom and Dad a while to get back, we'll be okay. We can listen to the radio while we play Go Fish." He could stand to play 6 games of Go Fish if he listened to the ball game at the same time. He wondered if the Giants and A's had felt the earthquake at Candlestick Park. Probably not. San Francisco was almost 100 miles away, and he didn't think earthquakes covered that much territory. He would get Abby safely into the camper, and then he could listen to Game 1 of the World Series while she took a nap. There might even be a news break telling about the earthquake. He would learn how strong it was and whether it did any damage beyond Magpie Island. "I'm tired," Abby said. "My legs hurt." "We can't stop now. We have to get back to the camper." The earth shuddered again. Another aftershock. Moose whimpered. Abby and Jonathan clutched each other and waited for it to pass. He wondered how long they had been walking. It seemed hours. Abby was slow when she had her walker. It was far worse now. They climbed over several more fallen trees. Each time it was harder for Jonathan to hoist Abby up and over. Each time his muscles strained and he grunted from the effort. His right knee was swollen and discolored where he had landed on it after being tossed in the air. "I need an ice pack," he thought. "I need to put my foot up and stay off that leg." Jonathan wondered again what the road into camp was like. Probably crews with chainsaws would have to come and cut through fallen logs before Dad could drive the car back into camp. How long would that take? At least the bridge to the mainland, arcing high above the Tuscan River, would be clear of trees. Abby stopped. "I can't go any more." "I think we're almost there. See that big oak tree up ahead? We passed that when we first started down the trail this morning. I remember because it reminded me of the oaks in Grandma's yard." Was it only this morning? It seemed days ago that they had started out, the 5 of them, for an ordinary picnic lunch at the lake. "I can't walk. My legs hurt." "Then I'll carry you. Piggyback." Jonathan bent over. "Put your arms around my neck," he instructed. Abby did. Jonathan tried to straighten up, but he couldn't lift her off the ground. His back ached as he strained to raise his shoulders. Sweat trickled from the back of his neck into the corners of his mouth. He tried 3 more times, but she was too heavy, and he was too weary. That is chapter 3. Tomorrow we will read chapter 5, and we will see if they make it back to camp.